Okay, and welcome back. Another day, and here we are. It's 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, to an historic change in the direction of the Republic, or, and there are lots of ors out there. We just don't know. I'm reading stories and posting articles about people who are very intelligent, who are extremely concerned that Donald Trump may not make it to the inauguration. There was a story today that somebody is offering, and I wonder who, $2,500 for anyone who can go in and guarantee that they will disrupt the inauguration. There is a tremendous effort to destroy one of the most important traditions, I guess is one way to phrase it, in American political history, and that's the inauguration of a new president, a new direction, perhaps a new beginning. In this case, we may have a disaster. 5,000 military apparently to be deployed to keep the peace. If they can't do it, I guess no one can. There, of course, are Secret Service agents protecting Donald Trump and his family, Vice President Mike Pence as of this Friday, and certainly Donald Trump's own private security guards, which are, I guess, a combination of Blackwater types, ex-New York City police officers, and others, independent contractors in the field of security and safety. And he can't really do too much in that regard. There are people talking about being nuked on Inauguration Day, the Capitol, cruise missiles, all kinds of things. It's really stressful out there. And to talk to us about some of this first hour is one of the most outstanding writers on the Internet and in Internet history, and that's John Rappoport. John, welcome back. How are you?
Okay, Jeff. Counting just like you are. Just before you started talking, I was looking at the calendar and going, 3 days.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here we go.
I mean, it truly is, I think, the most angst-ridden short period in decades in this country's history. People, look, there's no way to discount the potential for something completely horrific to happen. You can't do it. There are too many variables, and it has been said for a long time that if they want somebody dead or out of the way, they will do it. Maybe now, maybe in 6 months. But I think we can safely say, John, that every day that Donald Trump is in office, he will be in certainly above average danger for a president, if not more so than that.
No question about it. No question about it. You know, one of the key events to me that sends a different kind of signal is just the fact that he sat down with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and talked about vaccines. I mean, in modern presidential history, this has never happened, that this kind of conversation would ever take place because, as I'm sure many of your listeners know, the medical cartel is protected like no other cartel on the planet.
Sacred cow, absolutely. Yep.
And I was reading the other day, you know, a quote from RFK Jr. saying that he recently had sat down with the president of a major news network who said to him, 70% of their budget is pharmaceutical advertising. And if he had a host who brought on a guest, and that led to the canceling of a pharmaceutical account, he would fire the host. So this gives you some idea of how protected this is. And here's RFK Jr. walking into Trump Tower, coming out and saying, I'm going to lead an investigation into the CDC and vaccines. I mean, that's just, if you just stop and back up from that, it's mind-boggling.
Absolutely mind-boggling. This wouldn't even be whispered about in the Obama White House. No chance. It's a no-go zone. It doesn't happen. Just does not happen. And here it is. Donald Trump has declared war on the international elite, on the globalists, on the international banking combine and cartel. He is now, with RFK, literally taking on the entire medical pharmaceutical complex. This man is already a certain candidate, if not the winner, of the bravest president-elect in American history, and possibly the bravest president we've had since John Kennedy, certainly, who was a very brave man. We all know that. And this Donald Trump, if his staff, if his appointments play ball the way he wants them to, I don't care what they've done in the past. Let's see what happens. Let's give him a month, 100 days. Let's wait, assuming he gets past the inauguration. Now, there are some interesting things about that. Are the Clintons actually going to show up? And if they do, will it be the real Hillary or one of the doubles? And we know there are at least two, probably three doubles, one of which is absolutely stunning. Just an amazing duplicate. Will Barack Hussein and Michael Robinson, Michelle Obama, show up at the inauguration? If they don't show up, hold on to your hats. We'll see. Or maybe they'll wait till the day after to do their dirty work, or a month from now. They're in no hurry. The enemy is the enemy. He has taken on the infrastructure of Western global, if not global, dominance. This is, man, talk about having integrity and strength of courage and character. I've never seen anything like it. Never.
And then you've got Schumer's comment, which I thought was, in a way, I'm glad he said it, because he was basically saying, is he crazy? You don't take on these intelligence agencies.
Oh, I forgot to mention them. I was getting there, but please go ahead. Absolutely.
They've got 6 ways from Sunday they can get back at you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this was a clear warning that they could completely torpedo his presidency at the very least, if not take him out completely with an assassin.
Quite clearly, John Brennan, in my book, is an evil man. He and his associate, his buddy, the outgoing president, both obviously Muslim in their orientation. It is said, and not denied, by John Brennan even, that he is a Wahhabi Muslim, a Saudi dupe, a Saudi operative, a Saudi asset, think 9/11. Not that the Saudis were the ones who did 9/11, but they were certainly involved with it. You've got two Muslims in the most powerful positions in the country. The CIA head, who many say is actually at least as powerful as the president, maybe more so, if they go rogue, and this guy clearly went rogue. So what do we have here? We've got astonishing things going on that have never been seen before in the history of this country. And you've got the spectacle of Vladimir Putin now making direct allegations that the Obama administration has not helped anybody in the process of peace, getting along in the world, moving forward. He has really said some things that are also unprecedented. It's amazing to see this.
It is incredible. You've got a link up on Rense.com to an essay by John Pilger, which is devastating.
Read the title if you would, and just go ahead and talk to us about that, because I thought it was. Let me get it for you then.
I don't have it in front of me, but let's see. He talks about Obama as, the wartime president par excellence, and the cowardice and stupidity and incompetence of so-called liberals, and especially famous writers,
right,
who are totally taken in by the Obama administration. The great man, the great 8 years, the great first black president, all of this, complete baloney. While bombs are dropping everywhere in the world, major media are not even making a half-hearted attempt to report on this, or much less connect the dots.
Not even trying. Nope.
People are being destroyed all over the world at the hands of this Nobel Peace Prize winner, who some people may remember, and I can still see Obama saying this, and I'm sure you can too, when he said, it was just like he was waking up to something like a very interesting point. It turns out that I'm very good at killing people. He made this comment during his term in office, and it was startling. And he has done that, doubling and tripling down. And here we have, these lunatics who would like to see him, if possible, declare martial law and stay in office.
Right.
Oh my God.
We have thousands upon thousands, maybe tens of thousands of American military personnel deployed in Poland and along the Russian border. Maybe 100,000. I don't know how many from NATO have been involved in this massive deployment with armor, aircraft, you name it. They've got it all up there. It's on the border. A false flag could be simply used to ignite a major regional war with Russia, who has, by the way, as I mentioned again last night, I'll mention it now, under the United Nations Charter, if we really care about it, but it's there, Russia has the legal right to annihilate anything on its border that it considers a threat to its national security. The United Nations Charter permits that. If a country is at risk, under threat, it has the right to protect itself in a preemptive way.
You can't look at Obama, and this would have been Hillary the same if she had won. It would have been a completely smooth transition to the same thing. No matter how hard you tried, there is no way to look at Obama as somebody who is doing this just because he got out of bed in the morning and thought that it would be a good idea to be waging invasions, attacks, military operations all over the world, including Africa, which Pilger goes into at some depth. This is an agent in the White House. This is someone who was put there under orders, who was fairly slick at presenting himself as an outsider who had finally arisen to power and was going to change everything, blah, 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 blah. But there is no way to take an honest look at what he's been doing for the last 8 years and see him as anything other than an agent under orders, carrying out one devastation after another.
The sock puppet of death. He is a killer. He is a mass murderer. He is a psychopath. He has no problem carrying out orders with great glee and gusto. Pilger's article today is entitled, I think this is the one you're alluding to, Provoking Nuclear War by Media. Is that the one?
I don't think so.
No, unless that's a different one. I've got, let me find it.
This is on RT.
Okay.
And I'm going to find it now.
Yeah, it's this article is on RT, the one I just mentioned, but it's back from August, so we got to find today's. Okay. I don't know why it's not updating, but it's not.
I'm scrolling down here. Where is it? Pilger. The issue isn't Trump, it's us.
That's it. It's us, yeah. Great. The issue isn't Trump, it's us. John Pilger. Is it an extraordinary view of reality? Amazing.
And he talks about, unfortunately, he's not really aware, I don't think, of independent online media. Otherwise, he would be writing about that as well. He's talking about well-known mainstream writers and so forth, and saying there's nobody left who is covering what's really happening here. Of course, that's completely wrong. He's just not aware of what's been going on for the last 10, 15 years on the internet as far as news is concerned. But aside from that, he is, oh boy, he just shows you how sold out critics, pundits,
right,
writers, famous writers are, who refuse to look straight on at what's been happening for the last 8 years.
We really don't have journalism anymore on the mainstream media side of the fence. It's all contrived, corrupted, it's programmed, it's propaganda, it's social engineering, mass mind control. Here's what John wrote today. Pilger. Under Obama, the U.S. extended secret, quote, special forces operations to 138 countries, or 70% of the world's population. That's American military. 70% of the world's population were somehow being impacted by the American military. On the day President Trump is inaugurated, thousands of writers in the United States will express their indignation. Quote, in order for us to heal and move forward, says Writers Resist, whatever group that is, we wish to bypass direct political discourse in favor of an inspired focus on the future and how we, as writers, can be a unifying force for the protection of democracy. May I have a barf bag, please?
Yeah,
They go on and say, listen to this one. We urge local organizers and speakers to avoid using the names of politicians or adopting anti-language as the focus for their Writers Resist event. It's important to ensure that nonprofit organizations which are prohibited from political campaigning will feel confident participating in and sponsoring these events. Thus, real protest is to be avoided, for it is not tax exempt. Compare such drivel, writes Pilger, with the declarations of the Congress of American Writers, held at Carnegie Hall in New York in 1935, and again 2 years later. They were electric events, it is said, with writers discussing how they could confront ominous events in Abyssinia, China, and Spain. Telegrams from Thomas Mann, Cecil Day Lewis, Upton Sinclair, and Albert Einstein were read out, reflecting the fear, which was widely held, that the great power was now running rampant, and that it had become impossible to discuss art and literature without politics or indeed direct political action. It goes on. It just shows how this has all changed. It hasn't changed. It has been dead and remade.
Yeah, it's become a caricature. I mean,
right.
For example, I'm looking at the article now by Pilger. First black president, right? Okay, so Pilger writes, the first African-American president launched what amounted to a full-scale invasion of Africa. Reminiscent of the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century, the U.S. African Command, AFRICOM, has built a network of supplicants among collaborative African regimes eager for American bribes and armaments. AFRICOM's soldier-to-soldier doctrine embeds U.S. officers at every level of command, from general to warrant officer. Wow. And this... look at mainstream news, and you're going to find any coverage of this over the past 8 years? Nothing. Zero.
Yeah. Nothing. It's mainstream propaganda. It's the fourth branch of government, really. Right. It's the Ministry of Information all over again.
And that's why the extreme hatred against Trump because, like him or not, he stands outside that whole machine. He doesn't care about it. He's demonstrated that time and time again by directly attacking the media and calling them out for what they are, liars, fake news, etc., etc. And this has never happened in modern history to major media in this country. Nothing even vaguely approaching it.
No, Donald Trump is already an historic figure by any measure. Even if something were to happen, he has already established his place in American political patriotic history. You're right. These things have never been done before. They're not even talked about, most of them, because they're considered to be impossible. Doesn't happen. No way. All right, hold on a second. John and I will be right back as we count the days until January 20th. 3 to go. John Rappoport tonight. We are 3 days away from inauguration. John, this administration clearly is going to be absolutely unique. First of all, we will not have a first lady living in the White House. I don't know if Melania is planning to move in June when school is out. I have no idea. It sounds to me like she may not. And so we may have a marriage where she lives at home in New York, in Trump Tower, and he lives in Washington, and I don't know. The whole thing is really off the scale. It's off the charts. Everything is looking like it's going to be unique. A Twitter presidency, a man who is clearly trying to change the world for the better already. Now, some of the statements made by some of his nominees give me cause for concern. The anti-China statements. Going to talk to the president of Taiwan, said no more one China. We're talking two China policy. The Chinese are screaming and yelling, saying that they'll never stand for that. Meanwhile, the Taiwanese are actually conducting drills, mock drills, to prepare for a potential invasion of Taiwan, should that happen. Then you've got North and South Korea. North Korea being Beijing's storefront, and Kim keeps talking, and they've been talking for decades. But maybe there'll be an invasion there. There are so many potential hot points of ignition around the globe that it's a real minefield. I don't even want to pretend that I know what's going to happen, because we're in no man's land. We're really heading into uncharted waters.
Absolutely. And now, the team is talking about expanding the press room, moving it out, putting in bloggers and alternative news people, and major media people are screaming because that was their province of monopoly, right, and all of that, So if he indeed opens that up, and I do know somebody who is definitely in the alternative camp who has some kind of a press pass already, We will see what happens. Who asks the questions? What are these press conferences going to be like? Is the next president of the United States going to open his own web channel on a regular basis to the American people? That would be my advice and my hope, that he would just simply bypass all of these lunatics and talk directly to the people.
I would agree, and I would suggest, John, that, and I have suggested it, that he establish, and there was one story about this, that one of his sons was going to run it, but Trump TV.
Right.
Establish his own channel. Fox did it, CNN did it, and many others have. It's not a problem. He's got the money. So Trump TV, run independently of the White House by his son, and yet representing the White House in journalism. It would be very interesting.
It would indeed. It would indeed.
I hope he does it. I mean, look, we're talking about the dumping of Obamacare.
We will see an opening up of territory in terms of the press that we've never seen before.
Well, that's Steve Bannon, I think, a lot of it. Yeah. We're already seeing amazing things. Obamacare is headed into the dumpster of history. They're calling the successor Trump Care. Trump Care. I like that. Even Obama went to Trump and begged him. See, Obama has no legacy, no portfolio at all as an ex-president.
Right.
And so he went to Trump and said, look, you just keep Obamacare. Keep as much of it as you can. Call it anything you want. I don't care. See, he was begging for a legacy. And Trump is, no, it's going to be called Trump Care. That's how the honest media will pick it up and run with it, most likely. We'll see. But this whole thing, John, of him, let's just say he's in his jammies in bed, propped up, watching the late news, something, and he picks up his smartphone, and he goes to his Twitter account, and he shakes everybody up by pushing 40 or 50 keys. This is incredible. Direct access to the people, direct response, emotionally, intellectually, politically, economically, direct reactions. It's really amazing to watch.
And if people only realize how this cracks the egg of the monopoly, the press monopoly,
right?
To just get it through your heads as to what's happening here in those terms, that this is just absolutely detouring around all of these people that filter and lie and accuse and attack, and that's how they make their money. And all of a sudden, they're out of the picture because he's just tweeted something,
yeah,
and millions of people read it.
No.
And what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You got to report it.
He has co-opted the entire mainstream media with it. They have to report it. He's leading them around by the snoot, and it's pretty damn funny when the cart is now in front of the horse.
Yeah, this is what I saw right from the beginning, from the first moment when somebody on CNN or Fox or wherever it was disagreed with him, and he said, you're an idiot. And
did he say
everybody in major media, took a deep breath and said, well, the house is going to collapse on this guy now, for sure. And then nothing happened except a few million more people came to Trump's side.
Right.
That's what happened.
That's right. That's right. He literally can't make a bad move right now. He can't. The media has exposed itself forever as being a fraud. And I said this months ago. If nothing else, we know now as a conscious society, that part of it that remains so, that the media can never be trusted again. Can't. No way. They are the fake news. Always have been. They are the extension of the CIA, going back to Mockingbird and Northwoods and other operations. It's all about control. It's all about lying. The CIA's prime function is to lie. That's what it does. Liars. And I don't know who Pompeo is from anybody, but I'm getting mixed reviews about him. But we'll see. He is literally talking about going into the intelligence community and gutting a lot of it. This is it
never happened,
no.
Unheard of. And this would be, I mean, if you could imagine a mansion that has been sitting there and rotting, stench-ridden since 1947, and now somebody's going to go in there and say, okay, we're turning on all the lights. We're going to see what is going on, what's been going on here. If anything like that happens, this is what Kennedy said he was going to do. This is what he said he was going to do after the Bay of Pigs.
Right.
Smash the CIA into a million pieces. And if anything on that order happens, I mean, we're already seeing glimpses of it when he just simply says, you know, they're lying. That's what they do. They're faking the whole thing. There is no dossier. There is no event such as they're reporting. He's already laying down the law to the intelligence agencies. And I can only hope that he presses forward on that and does not stop, because if only for self-preservation. I mean, the only way that you're going, you're going to risk your life either way, let's face it. So you may as well risk it by taking apart the mechanism that is out to destroy you, as they surely are.
He has already certainly come very close to matching the things that John Kennedy did and was about to do that got him killed. There's just no question about it. Sorry to say those things, but that's reality. I mean, what he has done already. And let's see what he does the first week, the first day he's in office. He's taking away people's power, their feed bags of money, their interest-free loans, their corruption, their all of it, the graft, it's all being taken away from many. It'll still be there, but he's literally, this is a decapitation move on the control mechanism that has been riding on our backs for decades, since the murder of John Kennedy. And this is, wow. Just wow.
Yeah, it's an incredible wow the more that you think about it. And, you know, it makes you go back to the beginning. Did the guy have any idea from the beginning or from before the beginning what he was, the territory that he was really marking out? Or did all of this kind of come to him as he was moving around the country and talking and, you know, saying, I'm running for president?
That's a very good question. Very good.
You know, you'd almost think that if he had time to consider this for a year or two before he decided to run, that he never would have run. It's almost like he developed this in process and realized as he was going along, well, if I'm going to do this, then here are the people that are going to attack me, so I'm going to have to attack them first. Okay, let's go with that. The press and so on, and you know, the corporations that are stealing jobs and going overseas. And, you know, as you go on that path, you get deeper and deeper and deeper into the deep state. And now you look around, or is that what happened? He looked around. He said, "My God, this is where I'm going. All right, let's go.
Those are very good questions. We won't know. We may not know until and unless he writes his biography. I don't know.
Yeah.
Deep
but
state.
You're absolutely right. He has done already, without even getting into the White House. He's already done things that no president has ever done or even considered doing.
Let's go back to your point about RFK Jr. and vaccines. You challenge, you dare, it's that taxi driver thing, Big Pharma. You talking to me?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. You know, these are the people that control Washington, D.C. on one very important level. People have to understand that the pharmaceutical complex.
Oh my God!
They are the biggest lobby, and they just, they get their way one way or another. They have completely infiltrated the FDA, the CDC, every medical journal.
They own it. Let me tell you a quick story. I was under contract for 5 years to what is now Clear Channel, and was working with 4 premier radio networks. At the top of the totem pole, and I went in and did a program on the dangers of aspartame. The next day, I was called into the executive vice president's office, and I was told in no uncertain terms I would never talk about aspartame again on that network. He said the aspartame people and Coca-Cola were in our Chicago offices at 8 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
You don't do that here.
Okay, so I'm assuming that prior to that event, you had already been covering very controversial stories.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
But nothing of that magnitude, even approaching that magnitude had ever happened. But the people who are listening, listen to what Jeff is saying. You get into this area, the area of the pharmaceuticals and fluoride and aspartame and, the medical stuff. This is where a guy told me the following story, that he was working, and I think it was the LA Times. I don't have any notes in front of me, but basically a story appeared in the LA Times that was critical of some drug company or some drug companies.
Mm-hmm.
And just as you were saying, the next morning he saw pharmaceutical executives march into the offices of the paper and go straight into an editor's office, shut the door, and read him the riot act. The next day, they just showed up. This is not going to happen in your newspaper. Otherwise, we pull everything from you, all the ad money. And that was the end of that.
That's how quickly it ends. Sure. It's over.
Yeah.
No discussion. That's it. Here's another story. A deep state orchestrated storm awaits Trump in office. Now, this is written by Stephen Lenman. I have been saying, as have many others, that I do believe that the avowed intent and the plans of all those who oppose Trump, who have any organized ability or money, and we're talking about Soros, the Clintons, et al., will do, and this has been written about, every single day, as many things as they can to impede, to harass, to bother, to interfere with the Trump administration, the Trump presidency. You're going to do this for 4 years. That's the plan. Now, maybe after a year or two, when things get so much better in this country, they will lose whatever sympathy they have. And maybe some of the mainstream media, when people stop buying from the sponsors and the sponsors start bitching about losing sales, maybe the mainstream media will be forced to heal and come around a little bit. I don't pretend to know, but I'm guessing that some will. Right now, Trump has a long memory. He made that statement early on, or something close to it. He said, these people who are smearing me better remember one word. And it was really prophetic. He said, and that word is access. Access to the White House, access to me. And I still think it was divine placement that put him in where he is. He shouldn't have won. He had every possible adversary arrayed against him and operating at nearly full function, and yet he won. So we'll see. But that was my feeling. They're going to be after every single day. They're going to try to subvert and bring harm to that presidency. And I think the American people are going to get sick of it. That's my prediction. Within a year, they're going to get sick of it.
I agree with you. if we go back to 1968, Chicago, Democratic National Convention, and the riots and the craziness that occurred there.
Right.
People went the other way. They overwhelmingly voted for, of all people, Richard Nixon, the Republican, because every night on television they saw the insane rioting in Chicago against Hubert Humphrey, who was a Democratic nominee, and against the Democratic Party by, the yippies, as they were called.
Yeah, Abby Hoffman.
Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, all of that. And so in the same way, all of this attempt to interfere, to riot, to obstruct, to do all of these kinds of things has a rebound effect. More and more people say, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. This is not what I'm going to support. If people decided, there are targeted boycotts, and then there are what I would call just loose boycotts. Go to a mainstream newspaper or a mainstream television station and just watch the ads and then decide, well, I'm not going to buy any of that stuff at all. I'm just going to stop buying it. Anything that I do buy, that I see there, I'm going to stop buying it. If enough people started to do that, they would feel it. Believe me, they would feel it.
Right.
And they wouldn't know what to do. They would be just up against the wall. Their advertisers wouldn't know what to do. Major media editors, publishers, who are already sinking into enormous debt, would absolutely not know what to do.
Right.
Because they've been deserted, because people just said, bye-bye, that's it.
You saw the New York Times today talking about staff cutbacks.
Yes, I did.
Because it's going to cost them allegedly more money to cover the Trump presidency. They're going to have to assign more people on it because they're not going to be given access. Pretty damn funny.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it when I hear, they're leaving their offices, they're shrinking their space, they're firing people, and these are supposed to be the most powerful media outlets in the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will see. What is your sense about the story today, paying $2,500 to people who would go in and disrupt? We know what they're really talking about. I'm afraid that I've said it, I think there's a 50-50 chance people are going to die on Friday. I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But you got thousands and thousands and thousands of bikers who are real Americans, and they're not a bunch of Hell's Angels thugs and idiots. There are a lot of people with Harleys and other bikes who are white-collar professionals, and they really work hard. They're blue-collar. They're all colors, all races, and they care about this country. They're going to be there. 5,000 military. It's not going to be a cakewalk for those who would destroy the inauguration. They're going to have real problems. So we will see. I would say so. Yeah.
But we've seen now, the latest Project Veritas, a couple of videos here, undercover videos, where you see these guys talking about butyric acid in the buildings and at the balls, the inaugural balls.
Yeah.
And stopping trains with chains.
I know.
In the D.C. system, and blocking roads and highways and punching people in the throat. These people are hardcore types. That's what they intend to do. So all bets are off as far as I'm concerned as to what's going to happen at the inauguration.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to argue that. I have no idea. Usually the best guesses end up being the worst. There was also another story today that terrorists and the cartel operators are planning something along the southern border. Mm-hmm. But I still wonder what Obama and his handlers are. We've got 3 days, and there's an awful lot of military, hundreds of millions of dollars spent to send that military equipment and personnel over there to Europe, and I don't get it. Obama's going to go down in history already as the worst modern president, and he's doing this? I don't know. I'd like to know if anybody has seen a moving van at the White House. Is he really packing up?
So. I sure hope so. I hope there's a lot of vans there.
Yeah.
I saw that story about the border.
Yeah.
And again, I agree with you. You know, sending all of these troops and armament and so forth right up against Russia.
Right.
What? You know, this is just lunacy.
Well, the Russians
it's
again
like we want to provoke something here. We're going to provoke something here.
They have the legal right to take that military out under the United Nations Charter. So maybe they're trying to provoke that. I don't know. John, we'll find out soon enough. Thank you for everything, and we'll talk soon.
You too, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay, good night. John Rappoport, back with hour number 2 in just a couple. John Rappoport tonight. We are 3 days away from inauguration. John, this administration clearly is going to be absolutely unique. First of all, we will not have a first lady living in the White House. I don't know if Melania is planning to move in June when school is out. I have no idea. It sounds to me like she may not. And so we may have a marriage where she lives at home in New York, in Trump Tower, and he lives in Washington, and I don't know. The whole thing is really off the scale. It's off the charts. Everything is looking like it's going to be unique. A Twitter presidency, a man who is clearly trying to change the world for the better already. Now, some of the statements made by some of his nominees give me cause for concern. The anti-China statements, going to talk to the president of Taiwan, said no more one China. We're talking two China policy. The Chinese are screaming and yelling, saying that they'll never stand for that. Meanwhile, the Taiwanese are actually conducting drills, mock drills, to prepare for a potential invasion of Taiwan, should that happen. Then you've got North and South Korea, North Korea being Beijing's storefront, and Kim keeps talking, and they've been talking for decades. But maybe there'll be an invasion there. There are so many potential hot points of ignition around the globe that it's a real minefield. I don't even want to pretend that I know what's going to happen, because we're in no man's land. We're really heading into uncharted waters.
Absolutely. And now, the team is talking about expanding the press room, moving it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Putting in bloggers and alternative news people, and major media people are screaming because that was their province of monopoly, right, and all of that, So if he indeed opens that up, and I do know somebody who is definitely in the alternative camp who has some kind of a press pass already, we will see what happens. Who asks the questions? What are these press conferences going to be like? Is the next president of the United States going to open his own web channel on a regular basis to the American people? That would be my advice and my hope, that he would just simply bypass all of these lunatics and talk directly to the people.
I would agree, and I would suggest, John, that, and I have suggested it, that he establish, and there was one story about this, that one of his sons was going to run it, but Trump TV.
Right.
Establish his own channel. Fox did it, CNN did it, and many others have. It's not a problem. He's got the money. So Trump TV, run independently of the White House by his son, and yet representing the White House in journalism. It would be very interesting.
It would indeed. It would indeed.
I hope he does it. I mean, look, we're talking about the dumping of Obamacare.
We will see an opening up of territory in terms of the press that we've never seen before.
Well, that's Steve Bannon, I think, a lot of it. Yeah. We're already seeing amazing things. Obamacare is headed into the dumpster of history. They're calling the successor Trump Care. Trump Care. I like that. Even Obama went to Trump and begged him. See, Obama has no legacy.